Cut! Okay, everyone, that was good. I think we can do 10% better. That was beautiful. Very, very good.
Really so good.
Ah! My friends from college are here.
Sure.
Oh, boss! Perfect timing. Welcome to the set of Shandar Dastane Icarus. I'm playing you. You like the costume?
We need to talk.
Tell the director I have some notes
We
for
need
him.
to talk to you in private.
Oh, Karan, he's worked with me for 50 years. I trust him completely. Actually, when we first met, he thought I was a vampire, and he tried to stake me through the heart.
I have apologized so many times.
Not quite enough times. Very close, though. I'll let you know. Oh, I have to get ready for the next scene. Come to my tent. We'll talk there. You guys are going to love the next scene. I come in on a wire because, I can't fly. Wait, are we getting back together?
We need to talk.
The deviants are back. We don't know how many there are. You need to come with us.
I do want to briefly go over my rewrite, just to see how you guys feel about it, because you obviously were, in favor of how the movie was, but I tried to correct some of the errors that I found. The main ones being how all of them were introduced, and then kind of the ending too. I thought the middle part was really good. But this is my script doctoring.
Okay.
The doctor is in. Okay.
Scene one.
We open on a shot of the Domo arriving to Earth, and each Eternal waking up from what appeared to be a long sleep. Golden energy seems to be flowing out of their heads, fading as they wake up. They are not familiar with each other. We see Cersei and Icarus staring out at the planet Earth. Icarus turns to stare at Cersei. Cersei says, "It's so beautiful, isn't it?" Icarus, without turning away from Cersei, says, "Yeah, it is." And then we cut to the Marvel logo. Then we follow Cersei through London, dressed in modern human apparel. She looks up at an advertisement for the British Museum, showcasing an image of a golden blue knife, almost glowing with golden energy. Cersei takes a photo before seeing the time on her phone and running off. She arrives at the classroom, admiring Dane before stepping inside. She begins teaching the class when an earthquake erupts and everyone begins to panic. Cersei ushers the kids under the desks until the earthquake ends. Dane rushes back in to check on them, holding Cersei. She tells him that she is okay, and with a smile she says that she'll see him later. We cut to Cersei and Dane dancing in a club, having a good time. She brings out a birthday cake, and people begin to sing. We see a young woman with red hair staring longingly at the celebration. A guy standing at her table puts his hand on hers, but it phases through, a strange golden pattern flickering. He asks what that's about, and she says that he has had too much to drink. Cersei looks over at the woman. "Sprite, come join us." Sprite stands up and walks out of the club, leaning against the brick wall outside. With a sigh, the illusion fades, and we see the body of a child moping in the shadows. We cut to Cersei and Dane walking down a London street as Sprite trails behind. Dane asks Cersei if she is a wizard and explains that Sprite has said some strange things. Cersei claims that she has just a very active imagination, which triggers a spiteful look from Sprite. Seeing the conversation being shut down, Dane then asks if she's given any more thought to them moving in together. Cersei stops, conflicted, stammering on her own words. Suddenly, a giant rainbow beast emerges from the water, hunting the Eternals. It begins to sprint towards them when Cersei changes the material of the ground into mud, causing the beast to sink, before solidifying it into rock again. The three of them run as the beast begins to break out of the stone. We cut to the three of them running down a London street. Dane shouts, asking what that thing is, and Cersei replies that it's a deviant, of course. Dane has no idea what this means. We see the deviant emerge from the alleyway, stopping in front of a moving bus. The collision causes the bus to flip over onto the trio before Cersei turns it into flower petals and pulls out the bus driver. Dane mutters that she is a wizard in disbelief. The beast begins to charge again before Cersei turns the road to ice, causing the beast to skid past and crash into a nearby building, temporarily stunning it. Sprite conjures illusory versions of themselves as the trio tries to sneak away. The deviant begins to slowly wander, trying to find the real version of the Eternals as the people panic and continue to flee the scene. Sprite asks why the deviant is attacking them rather than the humans. Cersei says she doesn't know, and that she thought they killed all the previous deviants. Once they reach a safe distance, Sprite turns the trio invisible, and they watch as the deviant realize that the trio has escaped before it jumps off the bridge back into the water and swims away. Dane asks a flurry of questions, and Cersei says she will tell them. Cersei begins to narrate that the Celestials are giant, powerful, godlike beings with the power to create life, worlds, and even galaxies. For every planet that has life, they send a group of Eternals to protect that life from a race of subspace creatures called the Deviants, which feed off the life force. It's the job of the Eternals to help cultivate each planet until it is self-sufficient and kill off all Deviants that have it invaded. These Eternals have been sent to protect Earth. We cut to a Deviant crawling out of the ocean before it eats a tribal man who has been fishing. The boy who was with him runs off to the rest of the tribe and is almost eaten by the Deviant when it is suddenly blasted with golden energy. We see a group of Eternals protecting the tribe before panning up to seeing the Domo appearing in the sky, hovering above the water. Title card, Mesopotamia, 5000 BC. Cersei continues to narrate, introducing each of the Eternals one by one as we see them attack the Deviant. Athena, the goddess of war, creates her golden weapons and slashes at the Deviant, which begins to overpower her when it is punched by Goliath, who has incredible strength. As the Deviant crashes to the ground, we see Druig mind control the people to step further away from the beast, as Makari uses her super speed to attack it. The Deviant swipes her away before being blasted by Kingo, who shoots his golden projectiles at the beast. It is then picked up and thrown into the air by Icarus before he blasts it with his laser eyes, burning it up. Its limp body falls through the air before hitting the side of the Domo and ragdolling into the ocean. We see Phastos emerge from the ship, walking on the air using these golden rings that then collapse into his boots. He curses at Icarus for hitting his ship, and Icarus just shrugs. Phastos sends his golden rings to form a staircase for Sprite and Ajax, who also step out of the ship. We see Ajax begin to heal both the injured humans and the Eternals, as she commends them for their bravery and teamwork, before instructing them on what to do next. When she suddenly pauses, she watches as Cersei picks up a tribal knife before converting it into golden blue dagger, glowing with golden energy, and handing it back to the child. We see a smile on Ajax's face. Then we cut to a golden blue city in the desert, title card Babylon, 525 BC. This is basically the same kind of fight scene. We see the same steam engine scene. Then cut to jungle in the nighttime. Fires can be seen ranging in the background. Title card Tenochtitlan, 1521 AD. We see Goliath talking to Phastos, the two of them standing over a fallen body of a Deviant. I mentioned that if the rest of the team was successful in their mission, all of the Deviants will have been eradicated. We pan over to see Athena lying on the ground. She begins muttering to herself, something from the battle having triggered her. She says, "They're trying to stop us. We need to be stopped." Slowly lifting herself up, she summons her golden weapons, ready to attack the other Eternals. The same fight plays out. This scene is basically the same. The Eternals split up. And then Cersei ends her narration. Dane is shocked, having just learned an abundance of information, but Cersei cuts off his stammering. She says she loves him, but must go. Sprite asks where, and Cersei says that they need to find Ajax. Cut to Ajax's farm. Cersei and Sprite arrive, stepping inside only to find no one is there. Seeing a figure in the backyard, they make their way outside only to find Icarus looking solemnly at Ajax's body. Cersei and Sprite share a shocked expression. We cut to nighttime, the three are inside. Cersei mentions that she was surprised to find Icarus here, and that she hadn't seen him in a long time. Icarus says it's nice to see her again. We see Sprite looks away sadly. They talk about what happened. Icarus says he was attacked by a Deviant and came to warn Ajax, but upon his arrival, she was already dead. Cersei looks outside towards the body, only to see a soft glowing orb hovering over Ajax. She steps outside, and the orb slowly floats over to her and enters her chest. Icarus and Sprite walk over, asking what just happened, and Cersei says that Ajax's device for communicating with Erisham just floated into her. Standing up, she mentions that they should probably find the others. Icarus pipes up, mentioning that he had found a journal earlier of everyone's locations. It turns out that Ajax was keeping tabs on all of the Eternals. Cersei takes a hold of the journal. Sprite, where do we go first? Cersei. It looks like Bollywood. Cut to the song dance sequence and introduction to Kingo. This is basically the same scene. Then they find Athena and Goliath. The scene is also the same. Then they go to find Druig, and Makari is also there in the camp with him. We cut to the Eternals wandering through the Amazon. They finally find Druig and Makari. They come across his camp. They get ambushed by Deviants, etc., etc. Goliath gets absorbed by the most powerful of the Deviants before rushing off into the jungle. Cersei turns Deviant into a tree and has no idea how she was able to do it. Then they go find Phastos. Blah, blah, blah. They don't know where to begin with hunting down the Deviants, but they decide that returning to the Domo is the best course of action for now. The map on the Domo reveals some activity at a volcanic beach. When they arrive, they find that Crow and 4 other deviants are waiting for them. And there's this big battle between them. Crow emerges after all the Eternals have been pinned down by the 4 deviants. He reveals that Erisham has actually been planning, that Earth is being used to birth a Celestial, and that their memories get wiped after every planet. He has absorbed their memories of not only Earth, but all the planets they have been sent to. He must stop the emergence of the Celestial. Cersei, who has fallen in love with the planet, says she wants to stop the emergence as well. Crow also reveals that Icarus killed Ajax, who had been working on a plan to stop the emergence too. The Eternals split into 2 factions, those who support Erisham's grand design and those who want to stop the emergence. The second group must stop Icarus with the help of Crow. Phastos realizes that Ajax's orb is a connection to Erisham himself, granting the Eternal who bears it celestial power. This is why Cersei was able to transform the Deviant into a tree earlier. The other Eternals are fighting, holding down Icarus, who turns out to also suffer from Mad Weary. Cersei begins to transform the Celestial when Icarus breaks free and tries to attack Cersei. We see her look of fear and his look of shock, then shame. We flash back to the romance the two have shared over the years. We see him phase out of his Mad Weary, recognizing that he is choosing between Erisham and Cersei, the woman that he loves. He's then killed by Crow, who makes a remark about simply wanting to survive, whereas Cersei wishes to save a planet that she loves. Driven by grief, Cersei quickly turns the Deviant into a tree as well, the celestial power glowing through its roots into the Celestial, turning it to marble. And then the movie essentially ends the same. So the 2 things I tried to do with the introduction, I think having her narrate on top of when they first fight the Deviant, we get their names and their powers, and also they're coupled together in the same way. So it's just easier to kind of get a grasp of all the characters. This also has the story told in a more chronological order, which I think kind of helps contextualize everything without it being confusing because you're jumping back and forth too much. And then I think it gives a better reason for Crow being there at the end.
Yeah, I have to say I appreciate the chronological aspect of it. I think that does clean up the storytelling a little bit. Yeah, I'll say this. I think you did a great job with your rewrite. I know you worked very hard on it. But honestly, I think that other than the chronological change, I think that the changes that you made in this are probably less essential than the changes that you made for Black Widow or Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I was trying to, my goal with these is to try to keep as close to the original as possible. And I felt like this movie had a lot of really good material. It just wasn't utilized in the best way. I'm not gonna say that I know how to best utilize it, but I did want to. I wanted to play around with it and see kind of how else it could turn out.
Yeah, no, I think you did a good job, and I really respect how much work you put into it. I like the chronological aspect, but yeah, I think on the whole, I think on the whole, that's probably the biggest impact thing for me. I think everything else pretty much I would be fine with playing out as it does in the movie. Like in the final battle, having there being more of a more meaningful confrontation between Crow and the Eternals. I think that's good because, as we were just discussing, Crow is definitely kind of a low impact villain as is. So I like that you gave him more to do there. But yeah, I think that on the whole, like, so I think back to like your Shang-Chi rewrite. I think that really did a great job of tidying up the kind of the messiness of the final battle there. With this, it's more so just kind of tweaking with the details.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like it. Although I would say of your 3 rewrites, I think this will probably be 3rd out of 3.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the I think smallest in scope.
But
hey,
weirdly,
it was also the hardest too. Just because I felt like there was so much good already that I didn't want to change anything, but you still have to try to make things make sense. And it's just like, how do we tell this story more efficiently? I'm not trying to change the story. I think that was one of the things I kind of did with Shang-Chi or with like The Last Jedi, for example.
Yeah.
I kind of tried to change the story a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like,
did you
how
do a
do I
Black
make
Widow
it more...
rewrite? Am I remembering that correctly?
Don't remember doing one.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Last Jedi then. Yeah, because your Last Jedi one was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought I'd play around with it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No. I think you did a great job. I think you did a great job. Yeah. So yeah. So I think all that leaves is the mid and post credit scene.
Yeah.
For the mid credit scene, we have Theona Makari and Druig on the Domo, and they are visited by what at first I thought the colors that were happening outside the Domo, I thought that was the Bifrost. It looked kind of like the Bifrost for a moment there, but I don't think it was the Bifrost. And out of this strange energy phenomenon comes little troll guy, little Pip the troll, and he has a little spiel that he's supposed to read, and he does, and he introduces Eros, played by none other than One Direction mainstay Harry Styles. 2012's number one heartthrob Harry Styles.
When I was in the theater, as soon as he showed up on screen, I could hear behind me like the giggles of a bunch of like 13 and 14-year-old girls. And as soon as his scene was over, they immediately walked out of the theater. They did not stay for the post-credit scene. They were clearly only here in this 3-hour movie for Harry Styles.
And that's the thing, is that I have to be honest, look, I wouldn't know, but wasn't One Direction, weren't they last big in like 20?
Well, Harry Styles is a really big solo artist right now.
Okay, so that's what I didn't know.
Yeah,
I thought like One Direction was
really
kind
big.
of like early 2010s and not really beyond that. So
yeah, no, he's way past that.
Gotcha.
He does all of his own stuff.
Gotcha.
No, he's actually really, really big right now.
Okay, so that's the context I didn't get. But it's cool. It's definitely a fun stunt casting. I wasn't expecting to see Harry Styles there, and he's playing Eros, who is an Eternal in his own right, an Eternal from Titan, and he is dun Thanos' brother. How
does that work if he's an Eternal?
Yeah, that's
was Thanos also an Eternal?
In the comics, I know he's part deviant.
He's got the deviant gene.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how he's his brother. Where he's been this entire time when Thanos has been a known cosmic crusader against all things good. This is just a first impression thing, but he seemed kind of like an asshole.
Yeah.
Like all of the worst parts of Star-Lord, without any of the quirky upsides.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not really looking forward to seeing more of him.
Well, that's the thing, is that more than anything, I was just surprised, because it's like, watching the mid-credit scene, I was like, okay, Eros, that's cool. Harry Styles, cool. Thanos' brother, sure. Why not? I'll believe it. But it's like, my big question coming out of the mid-credit scene is just, like, all of that's cool, fine, sure. But when are we going to have time to follow up on this?
Right?
Like, he says that he knows where they can find Arishem and the other Eternals that got taken. But we've got so many fish to fry as is.
Eternals
when are we going to
2
follow
is gonna
up on
at
this?
At least 2025.
I don't think there is.
Earliest.
I honestly don't think there is going to be an Eternals 2. And that's not because it didn't make money. It did. It's just because I don't think that we're going to... I think that starting in Phase 4, we're not going to see... the era of new franchises that have to have 3 movies completed from beginning to end. There's just too many movies in a year now, and it's taking too long to produce them. That we simply do not have time for an Eternals 2 or an Eternals 3.
I think they're going to either reappear in either the Marvels or Guardians 2 or Thor 3.
Maybe
or
I
4.
could see Eros being friends with Adam Warlock. I think the two of them would get
That's
along.
exactly what I'm thinking. But I agree. I don't see an Eternals 2 happening, at least not under that title. I think it's going to be more of a Hulk situation where they're in a bunch of films that are cosmic in nature, and they kind of evolve through there.
So I was just like, all of this is cool, but I mean, with everything we have going on right now, the multiverse crisis, the Young Avengers, the Secret Invasion, whatever the mid-credit scene of Shang-Chi set up, like, when are we gonna follow up on this? We really
I think that's a big problem with it. It doesn't matter what movie comes out right now. This could have been Shang-Chi. This could have been Black Widow. This could even be, I don't know, Black Panther 2. Everyone's waiting for Spider-Man.
Yes.
That's all anybody cares about right now.
Exactly, yeah.
The implications of Spider-Man are just too big right now that it seems like no matter what, even something as big as Arishem seems like small fish compared to...
It just feels tangential, It feels like... Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but truly, when in any of the upcoming projects are we going to have time to focus on this? Like, with all these other storylines that we're following, I just don't see a space for this.
That's the thing. I feel like they're setting up too much at the same time. I mean, part of the brilliance of Infinity War and Thanos as a villain was that they set up him over 10 years.
Yeah.
And now they're setting up like 4 different things. We got like the
all
multiverse.
Yeah.
We got the multiverse. We got Kang. We got Arishem.
Young Avengers. We've got
the Secret Invasion.
We've got maybe a Midnight Suns with Moon Knight and
but like we have like 4 main villains that they're trying to set up, and like, are these villains for a single movie, or are these like continuous threats like Thanos was?
Yeah.
And you're setting it up too quickly, and it's too much to keep track of, and that's why I say, like, yeah, this movie is good. Go see it if you want to, but if you're easily confused,
don't.
If you're my dad, don't see this movie until you absolutely have to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's getting to the point now where if you are a casual fan, I mean, you really just don't even you don't even try to parse it, because I mean, it's just too many simultaneous storylines for a casual audience member to.
If it's a character name that you don't know, if the title is about a person you don't know, just don't watch it.
Don't worry about it.
if you're that casual, just don't.
The MCU lacks focus right now.
Yeah, and that was my biggest fear after Endgame, was that, the MCU is going to start falling down the path of all of the Marvel comics, where everything just gets so complicated and convoluted that like every few years they have to do a grand reset just to like keep things on track again.
Yeah, well, I think that what you said, Matthew, is very true. Is that right now, yes, everything hinges on Spider-Man. But even more than that, in terms of just from an MCU storytelling perspective, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I think, is going to be a potential inflection point where we're going to start to see maybe a little bit more focus on these individual storylines instead of everything being thrown together as it is right now.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I hope Multiverse of Madness ends with the closing of the multiverse. We're going to get 2 movies having fun with that. But if we're having Arishem and the Celestials, if we're having the grounded things of the Young Avengers, the Secret Avengers, Sword, there's no room for that in a multi-universe spanning thing.
Absolutely.
And I in private conversations, Jonathan, with our friend Jim, I'm going to quote him here. I hope he's fine with that. He said, when we were talking about Captain Marvel, that if the MCU begins to deal in things where we are now watching gods fight instead of men, it's going to be a far less interesting thing to watch.
Yeah. It's true.
Very
it's
insightful.
true. So, Yeah, so that's really just the thing I wanted to say about the mid-credit scene is that, all of that was cool, and it's one more thread to pull on, but I just don't see when or where we'll have an opportunity to really explore this or expand on this. And I agree with you guys. I think that, right now we've got a lot on our plate from an MCU storytelling perspective, and again, we're mega fans, so like we love talking about this stuff, but even for us it's a lot. So for a casual audience member, I can only imagine them trying to keep all this straight. So it's hard to see where that's going to fit in. It's a little bit easier to see where the post-credit scene fits in, because we follow up with Dane Whitman. And he's finally getting introduced to this ancestral blade that he's been referencing several times. He's got a complicated family lineage, and this blade is the Ebony Blade, legendary Ebony Blade from Arthurian legend. It's being given to him by an unseen person, but as we later learned, it's an uncredited voice cameo by Mahershala Ali as Blade. I've said Blade a lot this sentence. Mahershala as Blade, presenting a blade, the Ebony Blade, to the future wielder of that blade, Dane Whitman. Blade. Blade.
I felt so frustrated with this end scene. I have been doing my damned hardest to keep current with everything Marvel's doing in their multiverse and their Loki and all that. I've gone and watched the Tobey Maguires, and I have plans to watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man just to get ready for the newer Spider-Man movie. This is ridiculous. And that in the Eternals, we get a Blade cameo with significance? I'd never even heard of Blade. How am I supposed to be prepared for something like this?
And that's the other thing. Like, that goes back to the Eternals. When are we going to follow up with the Eternals again? Let alone, Dane Whitman as the Black Knight.
Yeah,
then I know they're doing an upcoming Blade movie, so maybe he'll show up in that. But like,
and then we also have Venom that suddenly appeared. When are we going to see Venom again? No way, it's in Spider-Man.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think the speculation that I've heard is that it seems like now we have one of those new storylines that's being set up could be like a Midnight Suns type thing, where you're gonna have.
What that is. See, I'm not prepared.
It's basically this comics team where you have these characters who are essentially, they're like the protectors against the dark supernatural threats against the universe. So you have
Strange.
Strange is a part of it. You've got Doctor Strange, you've got Blade, you've got Moon Knight, you've got now the Black Knight. Everybody kind of on that side of things.
They haven't even finished setting up the Thunderbolts. Well, they're already doing this?
Yeah, so now they're setting up this as well.
Oh my God.
But, I'll say this. At least we know that there is a Blade movie coming up, so we can see where that's going.
Yeah. But apparently it will be related to the old Blade. If we've got the cameo from this guy.
Well, is it going to be connected to the?
I think they're just doing a full reboot.
Yeah,
I think it's a mentor-student deal, like Hawkeye.
You think it's going to be? You think we're going to see Wesley Snipes in this? Because that would actually be. I don't think they're going to do it, but that would be cool if Wesley Snipes is.
I don't even know if it'll be cool because I was caught so off guard, and I.
Yeah, I doubt they're going to reference the olds.
But then why bring him in? Why?
Because they're doing to set up the new Blade movie.
But then if he's not going to be a part of it, why was his voice there? He's clearly got a relationship to Dean.
Well, I think that's going to be a big part of the Blade movie. It's not going to be called Midnight Suns, but I think it is going to be effectively a Midnight Suns type story where you are going to have Blade and Moon Knight and Dane, and they're all going to be taking on a supernatural threat. I mean, of course, Blade is a famous vampire hunter, so I'm sure vampires will factor into it, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah, so is this going to connect to Morbius now too?
Yes.
I would. Okay, well, I'll
and
say
Morbius
this.
Is a
I want Morbius to be as far away from the MCU as possible, but I would not mind watching Morbius get beheaded by Mahershala Ali. I would not mind that. So, I mean, just can you imagine that Mahershala Ali with this badass longsword, just impaling Morbius? I'm sorry, Morbius hasn't even come out yet, so it hasn't technically done anything to deserve this amount of hatred, but I can already tell that movie's going to be terrible. It looks bad already. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind watching Morbius get killed by Blade, but yeah, other than that, keep Morbius away. Hey, I mean, look, Blade is a cool character. Mahershala Ali is a really cool guy. I'm excited to see him. But yeah, again, it is just one more storyline to follow now. So.
Yeah.
I suspect we'll see more in Moon Knight. We were just talking about that with Disney Plus Day a couple days ago. Yeah, it's just there's a lot. There's a lot happening. Yeah. So, all right. Here's
Final...
my here's my
go ahead.
Well, here's my final verdict on the Eternals.
Well, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Before let's add something else to this.
Mm-hmm.
Final verdict for the Eternals. Best Eternal.
Best Eternal. Well,
so like our MVP of the movie.
Oh yeah,
well, you could say that, but I'm going if just from what the characters did.
We'll do best Eternal, then MVP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I feel like, at least for me, that the best Eternal is going to correlate to the Eternal whose powers I'd most want to have, and for me, that's still Icarus. So. I mean, again, he's basically Homelander, basically, well, not, I mean, obviously he can't do everything Superman does, but he's got a lot of the big Superman powers. So, for me, I think that's the most powerful and coolest Eternal. I mean, like, this movie doesn't technically have a main character, but she's effectively the main character. We follow her more than anybody else. So, like, that counts for something.
Yeah.
And obviously, she is kind of the one who saves the world by the end, so that's definitely points in favor. So yeah, one of those two, I would say, for best Eternal.
Yeah, I'd have to say either Druig or Makari.
Mm.
I mean, they're both just super charming and fun, and also really cute together. But like Makari, having her be deaf and use sign language, and I thought that was just kind of an interesting touch. I think they just kind of added that for representation's sake, which I think was a good thing. The visuals of her running around are just really cool. But the reason I put Druig as possible best Eternal is due to the one scene when they're in the Amazon camp. And there's the deviant thrashing around in the middle of the camp, and he just mind controls all of them to lift up their rifles and shoot at it simultaneously. And it is like that. Watching that happen gave me goosebumps. I thought that was such a cool sequence.
It was, yeah.
And just for that reason, I think Druig is probably my favorite. Plus, socking Sprite over the head with a brick was
yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
I really liked Druig's village scene. I love the thought that these people it's just a part of life that sometimes they lose all agency, and they're fine with that. All right, we're happy. Nothing wrong.
As soon as they dislike it, he just changes their mind.
Yeah,
that's true. For me, I was initially going to say Kingo. Good comic relief guy. He's the voice of Prismo from Adventure Time, so that's points. And
Prismo's pickles.
Yeah, that's it. That's him. But I thinking through more, I think my favorite of all of them has to be Gilgamesh.
Yes, Gilgamesh is cool.
I've got a big soft spot for the giant brute, but pure guy, and he's
the giant teddy bear.
Yeah, that's him. And then what did Sprite dress him up as? Was he just a baby? That was awesome. But yeah, Gilgamesh. The saddest part in the movie was when he got absorbed. It was like, no, I liked him. Bring him back.
Yeah, Don Lee did a really good job. He had a lot of charm.
My family was pointing out, my family, that all the best Asian characters are very heavy set in Marvel. We got Wong, we've got Gilgamesh, and other than that, it's really all they get. Besides, it's that or super scrawny or buff guys.
Mm. Well, I think now the interesting question is, who are our MVPs? Because I mean, this truly is an ensemble movie, so everybody gets a moment. So it's hard to really pick a true standout. But you know what? Okay, yeah, you know who my MVP is going to be? I'm going to say Erisham. That's
God damn
MVP.
it! Okay, is this a three-way MVP Erisham moment?
Just for that last scene where he.
I mean, like honestly, like that, like I mean, like
heroin.
I'm not saying that it was on the scale of the end of Infinity War, but it took my breath away in the same way. It really did. So yeah, just the scale. I mean, having Erisham active in the MCU really does redefine the scale of stakes we're dealing with. You know, like we've got some very high-powered entities, but nothing quite like that. So I'm actually going to say Erisham was the breakout winner of Eternals for me.
All right, well then, quickly before my other one's taken, I'm going to go with Phastos as my MVP. Not my favorite Eternal, just for how he was in the movie, but for the role he played, and he was still an enjoyable person to watch, and I feel like he had the most emotional connection to the people of Earth, both in his family life and history of trying to help them along, and eventually betrayal of what he gave them to be used for destruction. He's going with my MVP.
I think I'm actually gonna say Gilgamesh. I really liked him. He just seemed so sweet and really funny. And I also watched Train to Busan like a week or two earlier. So he just has a soft spot in my heart right now.
Definitely. And to your point, Matthew, I do want to give Phastos one last shout out because, again, if there ever was a follow-up Disney Plus series, I would love to see more of what Phastos has been doing over the centuries. Like, obviously, he's been nudging humanity along, helping them out with technological advances. Just trifling things like the plow and the steam engine.
Honestly, I would love to see an entire series where it's just Phastos coming up with ideas for kind of advanced forms of like engines and maintaining energy and batteries and whatever. And Ajax is just continually nudging him towards agriculture. So it's like the plow.
That's cool, but what about a tractor?
The wheelbarrow, the tractor, the combine.
Well, that's the thing, is that
irrigation systems, and it's
Ajax, I feel like
such a waste of my talents.
The Eternals, they were told not to interfere, but they just gave us, just tiny little throwaway things like, irrigation and crop rotations and just stuff like that. Like they'll never even notice.
Oh, Ajax, you'll never guess this new invention I made. It's a pointy rock on a stick.
So yeah, like I'd love to see more of what he was doing during World War II. If he had any involvement with the what was it, the Strategic Defense Initiative? I think that was the Super Soldier program or something like that. Yeah. So those are our MVPs: Erisham, Phastos, Gilgamesh. So final
Either
verdicts.
That or Kingo's Valet too.
Or yes, Karun. Outstanding. One of the best sidekick characters we've had in some time. No offense, Katie. But
here's another example of the best Asian characters being heavyset.
There we go.
Wow.
So final verdicts for the Eternals. Okay. I think I gave Shang-Chi an 8 out of 10. And I will say I did enjoy Shang-Chi a little bit more than the Eternals. I loved both of them. But I'll say that I'll match the Eternals to Shang-Chi at an 8 out of 10. I still loved it. I think the only reason it loses that point, or one of the few reasons it loses that point, is again, I mean, I keep forgetting his name. Like, I don't even remember what the guy's name was, but Crow. Yeah, there he is. Crow is just he's so weak and pointless. I mean, I truly think he's the weakest, or certainly one of the weakest MCU villains we've ever had. But on the whole, this movie was great. Direction was fantastic. I think that, this was both a MCU movie that broke the move and a true Chloe Zhao movie. Like, you could see that this was not obviously there was a lot of CGI, but it wasn't a CGI fest. I mean, this movie utilized more practical sets and practical locations than any other MCU movie before it. And you can tell, this had a lot of vision behind it, a lot of style behind it. I think it definitely does not deserve to be the lowest rated MCU movie. It does not deserve to be the only rotten one.
For sure.
It was a great time at the theater. I really enjoyed it. I'll give it an 8 out of 10, the same as Shang-Chi. Obviously, Spider-Man No Way Home is going to, shift and probably break
That's
the whole
either going
paradigm.
to be a 10 out of 10 or a 0. I don't think it could be anything in between.
Really?
I think it's either going to be a 10 or a 0.
I honestly, it's getting to that level now, but
I can't talk to you guys till you've seen the trailer. So
yeah.
We should acknowledge that we're recording this on the same day that the official trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home released. So yeah, we're excited to watch that. Final verdicts for you guys?
8.
8 out of 10?
I think I'll actually go up to a 7.
Oh, okay.
I'll move up. No, that's all you're getting out of me. I'm not going any higher than that.
I think that's a good. Yeah.
Just in talking about it, I actually do want to go back and rewatch this.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to be worth at least 1 point. Because it was, it was a really good movie. There were a lot of great sequences. Visually, it was just really stunning. Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it was slow at times, but overall, like coming out of the theater, I think I had fun watching it. So yeah, 7 out of 10.
I think that's a good compromise. I come down a point, you come up a point. So I think all three.
And Matthew was right all along.
Exactly. It was Matthew all along. All right. Well, I have to say, Matthew, we've got to be careful about bringing you on these episodes because every time we do, we have so much fun. We talk for 3 hours. But you're just a great guest. What can I say? I mean, it's and as always, you brought great insight. It was great to have you. That was the Eternals. I will say this. We didn't make many predictions about the Eternals going in because it was so hard to predict. We had no idea what to expect. But we did get one thing right. We said that there's no way that the main deviant was going to end up being the final villain of this movie. We were right about that. So that's at least 1 point. I'll be generous and say for both of us. Of course, I am still the MCU theory master, the reigning champion of Loki.
I'm going to fucking I need to go back and watch whatever our Spider-Man predictions were.
Yeah, Spider-Man is what will really decide it because we made.
Are we allowed to update our predictions based on the second trailer?
I'm sure we'll talk about about
Okay.
updating predictions.
Right.
If you guys have any brains at all, the trailer won't change your theories, but it'll look a lot cooler.
Yeah. I don't remember what my. No, because I think, well, did we make predictions after watching the trailer or just after, like, the announcement of it?
No, yeah, we did predictions after the teaser.
Okay. Because I vaguely remember, maybe this wasn't an official prediction, maybe it was just in talking to you, but I vaguely remember thinking that, like, oh, we aren't going to get, like, a Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield cameo. and here we are, and it's like all but confirmed. So if I said that, I would like to take it back. Yeah, I'll have to review the footage.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. That Spider-Man reaction is coming very soon. But I think for now we have to wrap it up because this review has itself also become eternal. So
yes, and I got news in the midst of our discussion that an assignment I thought I had a week and a half to do is due tomorrow morning. So I have to get on that.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, we'll wrap this up. But thank you, Matt, again so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you. Thank you all so much for joining us at home, for sticking with this marathon review. What can I say? We had a lot to say. It was a hell of a movie. And yeah, stay tuned for that Spider-Man review. That's going to be coming out very soon.
Unless it comes out before this.
Yeah.
In which case, surprise.
Anything is possible.
We're from the past or in the future.
Yeah, we're in the
coming
Wild
at
West.
you
now.
in the present.
Yeah, much like the Eternals in that way. So
yeah,
go
see the movie.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. So thank you all so much, and we will speak to you again next time with that or something else, or God knows. So, all right, take care.
Fuck around and find out. Good night, everybody.